Hello guys, welcome back to another stream. So in today's stream, we'll be doing something different and we'll be going back to our HTML days or just HTML CSS and just plain HTML, right? And we'll be building a GitHub profile searcher with using a HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So this will be a mini project that will basically search any GitHub profile and show a lot of information like number of repositories, branches, and etc. Right? I cannot speak. Okay, I'm stuttering a lot. Okay, putting that aside, let's actually start our project. So what I'm going to do is, obviously, since we're using HTML, we'll be making HTML index.html, we'll make a style.css, and also make a script.js, because we'll also be using JavaScript, because we need to fetch APIs, right? So here what I'm going to do is first make our HTML boilerplate, and inside this, I'm just going to type GitHub profile searcher, just like that, boom. And also gonna link my CSS file. Also gonna link my JavaScript file, just like that. So after that, what I'm gonna do is make a div. So this will be our main container. What I'm gonna do is write container, just like that. And inside this, I'm just gonna write header. This will be our header tag, right? Not header tag, those basically be our div for header. So inside this, what I'm going to do is make an h1 tag that will basically say GitHub profile viewer, and I'm also going to add a emoji right there, just like that, to make it look more cleaner. And after that, I'm going to give a paragraph tag saying discover. This will be a by default text saying GitHub profiles and their stats. There you go. So after this, what I'm going to do is make another div saying search container. Also, what I'm going to do is press go live. Actually forgot you need to do that. And what I'm going to do is do that, boom. So that way we have our GitHub profile page. I don't know why it opened twice, which is weird, but that's fine. That way you can actually see what's happening, and I'm going to close that. So that's kind of full screen set. After that, what I'm going to do is type that. So this will be a search container. So this will be the search button you see, right? And I'm going to do is make another div inside saying search wrapper. So this is basically just wrap everything. And here what I'm going to do is paste an image. This is an SVG file, just like that. There you go. This is a search image. What I can also do is go to Font Awesome. I'm not going to do it, but you can also do, what you can do is just go to Font Awesome and just take the icons, right? That's simple. So after this, what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to put an input tag saying text, and I'm just going to cut everything here. And here I'm going to give a class saying search input, and saying placeholder will be enter GitHub username. Just like that. Pretty much simple. And also give a ID of username input, just like that. Pretty simple, huh? It's very simple, and it's not like rocket science, you know. Very simple. And after that is a button. So I'm gonna give a button saying search. So this will basically be our search button, right? And this will have a class of search btn, which again, this button, right? An ID, I'm just gonna give it search button. There you go. Now after this, what I'm gonna do is give a div, another div after the search container div right here. I'm gonna make another div that will have a class of loading and a ID of loading. There you go. and also give a div for, let's say, spinner. This will basically be a spinner, and also give a, this will basically be the thing that says just fetching GitHub profile, just saying loading in if the API call is kind of delayed or it's slow. This will basically be a loading loading div, basically shows just loading, right? Nothing new here. I'm just gonna say profile picture. Okay, not profile picture, GitHub profile. Okay, I've been making a lot of clones and kind of messing with my brain right now. So this will have a class of error and also ID of error. Boom. And I'll give an h3 tag, not h3 tag, saying user not found. You can also use a emoji, which I'm gonna do. You can also use icons if you want, same thing, but I think it looks more professional in my opinion. But I just don't want to bother myself. I know it's like one line thing, but I'm too lazy for that, honestly. So this right here, this is the error if the GitHub user is not found. So this is the error message that will get showed to the user if the GitHub profile the user search does not exist. So what I'm going to do is just say the GitHub user does not, I can't type, okay, it does not exist, or the profile is private. Please check the username once again. There we go, that's there. And after this div is the profile card div. So this is the actual profile card div that user will see, right? For all of the profiles. What we'll do is make a div saying profile card and also have a ID of profile card. Since we'll also be using CSS here, it can take normal, but to be fair, the HTML is not too long, so it should be fine. So here what I'm going to do is inside this, I'm also going to make another div saying profile header. So inside this, what I'm going to do is make an image tag, right? And this will basically be the image of the profile, right? Or profile picture. I'm just going to type profile avatar. Have an ID of avatar. Also have a alt saying profile avatar. There we go. This is our thing. So next is another div. I'm gonna make another div saying profile info. So this is all the information about the user. So the things that we will include in the profile is, the first one is the name, of course, right? What I'm going to do is make an h2 tag saying name here, and I'm just going to put something like class. We have a class of profile name. Hopefully I don't mess up any spellings or it will just be a complete disaster. And also give an ID of name. There we go. And under this, I'm going to make another div with a class of profile username and also with an ID of username. There you go. And also make another div. So this will be the div for an image. And it should be pretty simple. Here what I'm going to do is make a div first. Think profile location. Will be the location, and also give a ID saying location container. There we go. Now inside this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to style it directly from here saying display none. So this will not be shown. This div will not be shown, right? Makes sense? Makes sense. Easy. And inside this div, what I'm going to do is give a path to an SVG file. So it will basically be an SVG to show you what SVG it is. I'm just going to basically cut this, save that. This will be a location. There we go. You're going to display none, so that will disappear. And also give a span saying Nothing, because we will use it from JavaScript to actually dynamically change it, so it should be fine. I'm just going to give the ID to location, and these should be good. Now that's it for the profile header div. Now under this is our stats. So all of our stats will just be shown in a window format. So since it will just be a 4x4, not 4x4, 2x2, we'll be using grid. So what I'm going to do is just say that this div is called stats grid. We'll be using grid to actually style this one, so don't worry about that. And inside this, what I'm going to do is just say stat item. So this will basically be the same thing, but it will have different information inside it. And inside this, I'm going to make two divs, but I'm gonna make it individual because they have quite a different values. So first one is div that will have a class of stat value, and inside this will be ID and repos. So it'll basically be the amount of repos or repositories the actual user has pushed, right? Another is the label. So I'm just gonna say like stat label. This will basically say that this is repositories. It'll basically be a text, right? And here what I'm going to do is just say repositories, just like that, boom. And now what I can do is just copy paste this 4 times. This is 1 time already, 2, 3, 4, boom. And that should be it. Now only thing I have to change is the ID, because again, as I teach you in our HTML series, IDs cannot be duplicated. I mean, it's not you cannot duplicate it, you can. It will just basically apply the same CSS property. But ID is something you'll just basically use to have a unique CSS property. So these should be different, right? I'm just going to take the second one will be followers, basically say how many followers the actual GitHub user has. And next is following, which again shows how many people he has followed in GitHub. And the last one is gist. There we go. And now by default everything will be 0, but I will change these to followers and this to followings, or following, I mean, doesn't really matter, it's the same thing. And last one I'm just gonna say gist, boom. With that said, we are done here. Now I'm just gonna say that, and under this we'll make our last div. So this is a profile links. So if you click on the profile, it will basically take you to the actual GitHub profile in GitHub, right? I'm just gonna do profile links. There we go. This will basically be a div that will basically wrap the profile links. So here what I'm gonna do is just use an anchor tag that will basically take us to nowhere. Now what I'm gonna do is say a class of profile link to style it, just like that. And next is ID, which will basically be profile link. And I'm just gonna say target blank. We'll basically open it in a new tab. And inside this anchor tag, I'm gonna put an SVG tab. SVG, just like that. This will basically be the GitHub logo. And we'll just say view on GitHub. Kind of weird how the normal HTML looks so much worse, and once you start it, it will just look so much better. It's kind of, sometimes it's like it's a good reality, but like it's kind of funny when you think about it, you know what I mean? Now next is the second anchor tag. What I'm going to do is just copy this and just paste it like that. Now what I'm going to do is this will have the same class, but obviously will have a different ID. So I'm just gonna say blog link. This will basically be the blog link. And by default, what I'm gonna do is set the style to display none, because I don't want it to, be displayed by default. I will change it using CSS, not CSS, using JavaScript. Now also I'm just gonna change the SVG. If you want to see what that is, then I'll just comment that, not comment, but I'll cut this. That'll basically be the blog icon. There we go, boom. Now I'm just gonna see visit visit blog, just like that. Now that should conclude our thing. So that's our HTML structure. Now let's move on to CSS and let's style this bad boy, right? Now obviously the first thing that anyone has to do is set the margin to 0 and also padding to 0. Make sense? Makes sense. Now, next is box sizing. I'm just going to put it to border box. That's the same thing that we do every single time when we use CSS, right? Now, next is body. What I'm going to do is set the font family to probably like Inter, maybe. But I'm not sure if I have Inter for the... I think it should be by default. Yeah, it should be by default. What I'm going to do is just say Inter. And also put, if I can find the, I just can't find it. Oops. So next is, I'm just gonna say Apple system. Boom. Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'll just put the things that I need, right? I don't need system UI. I need that, and also I need Roboto. And I don't need any of these except sans serif. There we go. That's the thing. I'm just gonna push it more so you guys can actually see what I actually wrote, but it should be fine. Like that. Boom. Now that's the thing that for the font family. Next is background, right? So for background, what I'm gonna do is set it a linear gradient, and this will be 135 degrees, right? And it will be from the first color that we'll use is kind of black, so what I'm going to do is 0D 3 times 11, and boom. So this is the color, and this will be used for 0%, like that. And also the next color we're going to use is 21262D for 50%, like that. And also give 161. We'll be using 3 colors, so yeah, that will be 100%. So this is kind of what GitHub theme looks like, right? So I actually went ahead and did that. I'm gonna give a min height of 100 VH, and also give a padding of 20 pixels, and also give a color of for text color, it also has to look similar to GitHub text color. I'm going to use E6, ED, and F3. There we go. Kind of close to black, but it's not black. It kind of looks like perfect white, but not close, this close to white, right? Now next is the container. So what I'm going to do is do dot container like that, and give a max width of 700 pixels. And also give a margin of 0 auto, and also give a padding top 40 pixel. There we go. That's all the style that we'll give to container. Next is header. And header, I'm also gonna give text align will be center, and also give a margin bottom of 40 pixels. What I'm gonna do is scroll up so you can actually see. Now next is header, but inside header we're styling the h1 tag. What I'm gonna do is just do font size. I'm just gonna put it 2.5 rem. Give a font weight 700. Also give a margin bottom of 8 pixels. Also give a background, and this will also again be a linear gradient for 45 degrees at f7 a166, and also give 58 E6. There we go. Looks cool, right? And next we're going to use WebKit. What I'm gonna do is just do WebKit, and I'm just gonna give background clip to text. I also put WebKit, or like text fill color to transparent. There we go. Now as you can see, the color is that. Kind of looks cool, right? Next is background clip. What I'm gonna do is do background clip to, I'm just gonna set it to text. There we go. Now next is the header, but this time we'll be using for paragraph tag. Like that. I'm just gonna put the font size to 1.1 rem. What the oops. Also give a opacity of 0.8. Also give font weight of 300. There we go. Looks cool. Now we have to style that. Now for the search, first we'll style the search container, then we'll style the rest of the things. So for that, what I'm going to do is do position relative. What I'm going to do is just do position relative, and also give a margin bottom of 13, because if you don't give margin bottom, a lot of things will happen. Just understand that, I guess. There we go. Hopefully I didn't mess up anything here. Where's the search container? There we go. I don't think I messed up. That's good. Boom. Now next is search wrapper, right? What I'm gonna do is do search wrapper. Inside this, I'm just gonna set the position to relative, and also give display flex, and align items will be set to center. There we go. It looks very weird. Don't worry. We just need to style this and we should be fine. Now next is the input. So for the search input, what I'm gonna do is give the width to 100%. Also give the padding to 18 pixels, 24 pixels, 18 pixels, and 50 pixels. There we go. Also give a font size of 1.1 rem. And also give a border of 2 pixels, solid 3036 and 3D, and close to gray. There we go. And also give a border radius of 16 pixels, and also give a background of 2126 and 2D. It's like that. It kind of looks cool now. Next is color. So color, we'll just use the same one that we used for that, just like that. Boom. And here what I'm going to do is also give an outline of none, because it does look kind of weird, but this white thing right here, that's the outline. I don't want that, so I'm just going to put the outline none. Now that should fix that. There we go. Now for the search input focus, right? What I'm going to do is have few things, right? The first is the search input. I'm going to use the pseudo search input. I'm going to do the pseudo focus, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a border. So for border, I'm just going to give 5, 8, E6, and E5, kind of close to blue. So if I do that, that will be blue, which kind of looks cool. And just like suit the theme. Now next thing I'm going to give is the box shadow. So it kind of gives a lifting effect. So I'm going to give box shadow, no sizing, box shadow. Here what I'm going to do is give 0, 0, 0, and 3 pixels. Using RGBA, what I'm going to do is do 88, 166, 255, and opacity will be that much. There we go. As you can see, it kind of gives a lifting vibe and kind of, looks cool. I cannot describe that. It just looks cool. There we go. Now for the translate, I'm also gonna transform at not X, actually Y, because again, it again gives a lifted vibe. If I do that, here we go. You can see that. Now it's kind of instant, right? What I can do is kind of give a transition effect using transition property, saying all 0.3 seconds and transition will be ease. Now if I do that, now it'll have a slow lifting effect. There we go. Now next thing is the input for the placeholder, right? What I'm gonna do is again do input focus, but instead of that, I'm just gonna do placeholder. I don't think I can do that. I think I've made twice. Placeholder, there we go. I'm just gonna change the color of the placeholder to B. I'm just gonna put 7D85 and 90. If I do that, it will change. That's my GitHub. There we go. Looks cool. Now for the search icon, right? What I'm gonna do is do search icon. I want to make sure if I gave the class as search icon, I did. That's good. I thought I forgot to, which could have been a disaster because it will literally not, use. I'm gonna do position absolute and also give a left of 18 pixels and give a width of 20 pixels, also height of 20 pixels, and also give an opacity of 0.6. Boom. It does look pretty cool. Why is it? Now, if we click on that, it looks cool. I don't get why it's disappearing though, but oh, okay, that's fine. Well, because we are lifting, we are translating that, so I think that's disappearing because of that, but it's fine. The next is search button. So I need to style the search button. What I'm going to do is just do search button. I'm just going to call the class, put it to position absolute, and give a right of 8 pixels and give a padding of 10 pixels and 20 pixels. Also give background as linear gradient of 45 degrees with a couple of the similar colors that we have seen. Probably same as this. Probably copy this entire thing and be done because it's like the same thing. Here I'm just gonna copy that, paste there. Now next thing I need to do is do border. You guys can't see because of the emit. I'm just gonna do none. I don't want any borders. Now next thing I want to do is give border radius. So the border radius will be 10 pixels. Let's say, yeah, 10 pixels. Color will be white, and I'm gonna give the font weight to 600 while also giving a cursor or pointer. Also give transition this time, saying all 0.3, just same seconds with ease, just like that. Now for the search button hover, what I'm going to do is just transform as to translate at -1 while hovering. Also give a box shadow of 0.4 pixels, 15 pixels, and RGBA of the same thing, same settings. And if I do that, I will lift a little bit, just like that. There we go. There we go. It will lift a little bit, and we are good. Next is for the loading. So what I'm going to do is call loading, do display none because I don't want to see the loading. And text align, what I'm going to do is do center. Also give margin to 30 pixels and 0. There we go. And also give a spinner and give width of 40 pixels. And also give a height of 40 pixels. Also give a border, not border, of 3 pixels, solid 30, 36, the same thing. Also give a border top of 3 pixels, solid, that color, kind of blue. And also give border radius to 50% because I want it to be a perfect circle, obviously. Also give an animation of spin 1 second linear infinite. There you go. Basically it'll just spin. And margin, I'm just gonna give 0 auto 15 pixels, just like that. Now is for the keyframes, right? We have used an animation, we also have to use keyframes. What I'm going to do is give keyframes, and I'll set that to spin, obviously, because we are timing this spin. And inside this, what I'm going to do is at 0%, what I'm going to do is transform. I'm going to do rotate, and it will be for the degrees. And at 100%, what I'm going to do is do transform, rotate 360. So we're basically saying to rotate from 0 degree at 0% to 360 degrees at 100%. Boom. That's how you use keyframes, guys. Next is for profile card divs, right? If you're wondering why we didn't style this one right here, the user not found div, we'll be doing it in a bit, so don't worry. Okay, just think, why didn't you do that first? It's literally first. Just calm down. Just calm down. Okay. And just now, I'm just gonna do the background. I'm just gonna for the actual profile div. What I'm gonna do is give, let's say 30, 33, 30. 8 and also give 45 and just do 0.8. There we go. Now for the backdrop filter, I'm just gonna do blur at 20 pixels. Also do border, I'm just gonna give 1 pixel, solid, and do 30, 36. Also do 3D, and there we go. And for the border radius, I'm gonna give 20 pixels. There we go. And here what I'm gonna do is also give a padding because it kind of looks weird, honestly. And just do, let's say 32 pixels. Boom, there we go. And for next is I'm just gonna give a box shadow. And this will be just 20 pixels, 60 pixels, and RGBA will be 0, 0, 0, 0.3. There we go. Now next is transform. I'm just gonna translate that to Y. 20 pixels, and also give an opacity of 0 because we have to, this is something that you see after a thing, right? I'm gonna give opacity 0. I'm just gonna put the transition to 0.6 second. We are basically just changing the opacity when the user searches, right? Pretty cool. Now what I'm just gonna do is display none. There we go. Boom. And also set the display to visible. And now next is the profile card.show. Now if we trigger this, which will basically be changing the class. So transform, what I'm going to do is translate, add Y, I'm just going to set it to 0, just like that. And I'm going to set the opacity to 1 and display to block if we trigger this one. Cool. Also do profile. The next is profile header. I'm going to style it to display flex. Also give align item center. So for now, what I'm going to do is comment this out and also set this to 1. Oops, I'm not supposed to do that. Oh, okay. Set to 0, just comment that part out so you can actually see. We'll basically change it in a bit, so I need to set it for styling it. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a margin bottom here. I'm gonna give a margin bottom of how much pixels? Let's say 24 pixels, and also give a gap of 20 pixels. There we go. We're basically saying display flex here. Now, the thing I need to do after this is for the profile avatar. So I'm just gonna do profile avatar and give a width of 100 pixels, of height 100 pixels. Also give a border radius of 50%. Give a border of 3 pixels solid of this color right here. Also gonna give a box shadow of 0, 8 pixels and 25 pixels. Give a RGBA 88. I think I have the this is the same thing. This time I'm just gonna change the opacity that much. Boom. The next thing I need to do is also give a transition. And for transition, I'm just gonna give it transform 0.3 seconds at ease. There you go. Now for profile avatar, I'll quickly see if that's working. I'm gonna see that by doing image avatar. Yep, there we go. Profile header. And also gonna do the profile avatar. Give me a second, guys. For the profile avatar, I'm just gonna set it to that, and we should be good. So here, what I'm gonna do, give me a second. So here, what I did was, wait, what? Oh, okay, so, oops. There we go. I was saying why it didn't work. So I was like, I put the thing, but it didn't load. So that's the actual problem. I misspelled. Here should be source. Here should be class. I'm sorry, not source. So that's our thing, just like that. Okay, small mistake there. Now after this, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the hover. I'm just gonna copy that and let's do hover. Let's do transform. Transform, I'm just gonna do scale. I'm just gonna scale it 0.5 times at hovering. There we go. That looks cool, right? And here what I'm gonna do is also give a profile info. I'm gonna do flex1. There we go. Now next is the all of our things. So I'm gonna do is the first one is we're gonna use profile name. I'm gonna do font size. I'm gonna do 1.8 rem. Next is font weight. I'm gonna put it 700. There we go. Also give margin bottom to, let's say, 4 pixels, and also give color to E6 EDNF3. Now here I haven't put any name in profile, which again you can probably do it. Let's say Codynn. As you can see, it will just appear right there, but I'm just not gonna do it. Now next thing I have to do is change is the profile bio, which will sit right under that. I'm just gonna do 78590. I was gonna put a line height of 1.5. Also give a margin bottom of 16 pixels. There we go. Now next thing I do is the profile location. So again, I've set the profile location to display none, so it's not showing. I was gonna do a basic CSS saying display flex. Also do align item center and also do color. I'm just gonna do the same one as that one right there. Also give the font size 0.95 rem. There we go. Now next is the icon. So what I'm gonna do is icon, location icon. I'm double checking if I actually gave the SVG a class. Location icon, there we go, I did. Also give a width of 16 pixels. Also give a height of 16 pixels. Also give a margin right of 8 pixels. There we go. Now next is the stats grid. So this is the actual grid that we will style, and with that, I think with few responsive designs and few responsive styling, we should be done with CSS. Now what I'm going to do is start with stats grid. I'm going to do display grid, right? That will make it a grid, and do grid template columns. I'm going to do repeat auto fit. And just do min max to 150 pixels to 1 fraction. There we go. Boom. Now next is gap. I'm gonna do 16 pixels and also do margin top to 24 pixels. There we go. Looks cool. Now next is the stat item, the individual item, right? And make the background to RGBA. Now for the profile, what I'm going to do is RGBA. What I'm going to do is 48, 54, 61, and 0.5 as opacity. There we go. I'm going to give a border. Now border radius border 1 pixel solid 33036 just like that. Also gonna give a border radius of 12 pixels and also give a padding because it looks horrible right now. There we go, it looks nice now. And give padding of that, and also text alignment to center. I want it to be exactly at center. Also do transition all 0.3 seconds at ease, and also give position to relative, and also do overflow hidden. There you go. Now for the stat item hover, what I'm going to do, I'll just stat item hover. What I'm going to do is first, actually, I'm going to put stat item before, like that. And do content. Inside the content will be none, right? It's going to do position to absolute. I'll also put to top. I'm going to top to 0, and also give left 0, right 0. There we go. Also give a height of 3 pixels. There we go. Now next is the background. What I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to put a linear gradient on the same. If we can change linear gradient. I'm just gonna do 45 degrees. Like, I don't remember the last time I used that. There we go. The same thing, right, like before. So I'm just gonna copy paste. There we go. Right, the same thing. Now I'm just gonna do transform. I'm gonna do scale x 0, right? And also do transition transform 0.3 ease. There we go. Now next is for the hover, right? What I'm gonna do is do for hover. I'm just gonna do transform translate y. I'm just gonna translate a little bit upwards, saying negative 2 pixels. Also give a border color of same thing right there. There we go. Looks cool. Right, let's go. Now next thing we can actually do is give the thing. So here what I'm going to do is also give the stat item before. Actually going to give a hover and also give before. What I'm going to do is do transform at scale x. I'm just going to do, there we go. There we go. Now that is the thing that I want to achieve. Kind of looks neat, right? There we go. What I'm going to do here is the stat value. So the actual values, right? I'm just going to do font size to 1.8 rem and give the font weight to 700. Also give a color of E, same thing, and also give a margin bottom of 4 pixels. Okay, there we go. Now for the stat label, what I'm going to do is give a color of this and also give a font size of 0.9 rem. And also give a text transform. Let's transform the text to uppercase. There we go. And also give a letter spacing to 0.5 pixels. There we go. Now next is profile links. I'm going to do display flex. I'm just going to give a gap of 12 pixels. Also give a margin top of 24 pixels. Also doing flex wrap to wrap. There we go. Now for the actual profile link. What I'm going to do here is do display inline flex, right? When you display inline flex, I'm just going to do align items to center, right? And also do padding to 10 pixels and 16 pixels. Also going to give a background to RGBA and with the same one as this one right there. Also give a border of 1 pixel solid blue. This kind of looks blue, right? The next is border radius. I'm just going to give it 8 pixels. It has rounded corners. Also give a color of the same color right there. And also give a text decoration of 8 pixels. And also give now font size. I'm also going to give a font size, obviously, to 0.5 rem. And also give a font weight of 500. And also give a transition. Set it to, obviously, as always, I'm just going to set to all 0.3 And there we go. That will take me to nowhere, obviously. And also give probably a gap too. Gap, I'm just gonna do 5 pixels. There you go. View on GitHub. And that looks cool, right? That's what I'm trying to do. There we go. So next is what I'm gonna do is for the profile link hover. I'm gonna do is probably give a background of that, and also give a color of white. Also give transform to translate y and -1. There you go. Now for the link icon, right? What I'm going to do is do link icon. I'm going to give a width of 16 pixels. I'm also going to give a height of 16 pixels. And I'm also going to give a margin right of 8 pixels. There we go. View on GitHub. I'm also going to give a error. So now we'll actually style our error. So this thing right there. Right. What I'm gonna do is here. What I'm gonna do is also. I think the first thing I need to do is just change the thing. So I remember changing. Did I make it? Yeah. So I'm just gonna change. Let's change that to that, because since we have already styled our profile, we don't need. So now for the errors, right? What I'm gonna do is give a background of RGBA. So this will be a 248.129 and 102, and this will be just 0.1. There we go, just like that. Our next is border. What I'm gonna do is just give solid orange, just like that. That looks orange. So border radius, I'm just gonna give 16 pixels. Also gonna do padding. I'm just gonna give 16 pixels. I'm gonna do text align center. I'm also gonna give a color, the same color right there. And I'm gonna do display none. I'm gonna comment it for now because this does not make sense. Now for the error show, right? That's the styling for if they're not found, the user not found. So I'm just gonna do error show. I'm just gonna change that to block and also do a animation. So here this animation will be fade in and just do 0.5 seconds and just set that to ease. Now I have to time it using keyframes. I'm going to use keyframes and just choose my, let's say for what, I'm just going to use it for fade in. I'm going to do from opacity, I'm just going to do 0 and also do transform. I'm going to do translate at y 10 pixels and 2. But what it is fading in from, I have to change it to 2. So I'm just going to do opacity to 1. I'm going to do transform. I'm just going to do translate to 0. There we go. So what I'm going to do is here, that will be that. I'm just going to set that to none now. Now that's our GitHub for now, right? Without any JavaScript. Now last thing I have to do is actually do just a minor, for responsiveness. I'm just gonna do a few stuff, not too fancy. I'm just gonna do max width. To be fair, it doesn't need anything fancy, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna change that. Do header. I'm gonna do header h1. I'm just gonna change the size to font size to run, and I'm gonna change the profile header. To flex direction will be column, and also do text align center. For the profile card, I'm going to do padding. We'll set that to 24 pixels. The last thing I'm going to need to set is the stats grid. I'm going to set the grid template columns to repeat 2 by 1 fraction. And that's our CSS. I'm just going to format the document, and that's our CSS. Everything looks fine, and I have to change. Now we'll use the JavaScript. Double checking if actually JavaScript is linked, which, okay, it is, so that's good. Now let's start with JavaScript, right? So first thing, we need to make or call all of our DOM elements. I'm going to do const username input, do document, what, okay, I was not supposed to do that. Document.get element by ID. We'll do user name input. There you go. So next is cursor search button, right? Now the same thing is that just document.get element by ID message to search button. There we go. The next is const loading. I'm just gonna do the same thing here. I'm just gonna change that to loading. The next is for error. And paste that. Change that to error. Now next, the last one is profile card. Just do document dot get element by ID. I'm just gonna change that to profile card. There we go. That's all of our DOM elements. I'm gonna just check that. There we go. Now we have to make an async function. Why? Because we're actually making a function that basically does an API call. So if you know anything about JavaScript, API call is an asynchronous operation. So for that, JavaScript needs to have an asynchronous function as well. So this function right here, which basically searches the user, is an asynchronous function. You can also use fetch and then, but I'm just going to use the asynchronous function because making function is easy, right? What I'm going to do is do if, I'm just going to use if username, username dot trim, after trimming the username, is not true. That means if it's empty string, the function will just straight up return because it just does not make sense, right? So after this, what I'm going to do is just hide the previous results first, because again, we are doing, for the first API call, it will just hide everything. However, if there is another API search, it has to hide the previous search results, right? I'm just going to do previous search results and also do profile card dot class list and just do remove and do show. And error, I'm going to do class list dot remove, the same thing, just do show, and just do loading dot style dot display. I'm just going to set the loading display to block. There we go. Good enough. Now next is the try. So since we are using asynchronous, we'll just use try and catch. First, I'm gonna store the response that's coming from the GitHub API. I'm gonna await it because this is an async operation or asynchronous operation. I'm using the fetch function to call. I'm gonna use backtick here. And I have a GitHub API here, which is what am I doing? Okay, that is it api.github/users and slash. I'm just gonna use the string interpolation here, saying encode URI component, and I'm just gonna set the username. Boom, that should be fine. Now next, if I'm gonna check if response is not okay. If the response that came from the GitHub API is not okay and it's not 200, then it will basically set inside this. I'm also going to check the response status. Status. What am I doing? Oh, okay. I was actually going crazy for a second there. Response status is 404. If it's 404, then just throw new error saying user not found. There we go. This is for the it will basically show in console, so if you're just wondering. Now for the else if, I forgot to put condition here. So for the condition, what I'm going to do is the response dot status. I'm going to check if it's 403 now. So if it's 403, I'm just going to throw new error saying rate limit exceeded. Right? I'm going to format the document here. Okay. Give me a second, guys. Now here, what's happening here? This is that. The script.js is not working. This. Give me a second, guys. Now next we have to do is check for actually I think that's all of our errors. I'm just gonna do else throw new error. You guys cannot see again. If you're wondering why is this thing giving you error, I have to use catch here, but I'm gonna do it in a bit, so don't worry. So here what I'm gonna do is give a backtick and say HTTP error. I'm just gonna log the existing thing, so I'm just gonna do that and do a string interpolation saying response.data. I'm gonna log that on the console, and with that I think our thing should be done. Now inside this, what I'm gonna do is do actual fetching. What I'm gonna do, we have already fetched the data, right? I'm gonna do const user.await, and I'm gonna change the response that's coming from JSON, the response to so the response, right? It's in JSON, right? That makes sense? Okay, I forgot that. So this right here is a JSON file. I need to change that into JavaScript object. So this right here is basically changing that to a JavaScript object. And inside this, I'm gonna do a few things. And now what I'm gonna do is just copy all of that. I don't think I need to copy. What I'm gonna do is just do document.getElement.id. I'm gonna change the avatar. Now I'm just gonna like replace the thing to that. I'm gonna do avatar. Now if I do here, if you guys will see, what I'm gonna do is do console.log. If I console.log the user here, I don't think it will get any data, to be honest. Okay, it's missing the catch. Okay. Actually, I'll show you in a bit. Don't worry. But basically, since the JavaScript object, not JavaScript, not the JavaScript object, the JSON file, I'm changing the JSON to a JavaScript object. Now here, what I'm doing essentially is just like replacing, just doing DOM manipulation. I'm gonna do avatar.url, right? This is just the avatar. I'm gonna basically do it a couple different times. Let's say, I think I have to change 5 times, so that's one. The next thing is the avatar. Now for the alt, I'm just going to change that to user. I'm just gonna change that to, I'm gonna use a back tag, do some string manipulation saying user.login avatar. So this is basically name, and this says his avatar, right? Next is name. So what I'm going to do is put name here, and instead of source, you guessed it, I'm just going to put text content. Here, what I'm going to do is say user.name, or if that's not this, I'm just going to do user.login if there is any error finding name. Normally there wouldn't be. I'm just doing the very if, right? Now next is username. For username, I'm just going to change the text content. Text content, I'm going to set that to for the back tag. I'm just going to set that and do some string manipulation. I'm just going to say to user.login. There we go. Now the last one I need to set is the bio. So for the bio, I'm just going to change the text content again for user.bio if available, or I'm just going to set that to if there is no bio, no, this user has no bio. There we go. Basically just a small error handling. Now next is for the location, right? What I'm going to do is set const location container. So I'm just going to make a container variable for the location. I'm just going to take the that thing saying location container. Just like that. I'm storing the DOM element in the location container. What I'm going to do is to if user.location. If user.location exists, I'm basically doing document.getElement by ID and putting the location here. I'm basically putting location into the text content of that saying user.location. There we go. Now next is location.style. Since we have put the container to hidden, right? I misspelled that. Style.display. I'm gonna set that to flex. There we go. Now for the else statement, I'm just gonna set the location container style.display to none. I'm gonna put it that to that. Right, that makes sense. I kind of messed up the spelling here. There we go. Location.container. Now for the stats, right? Now I'm just gonna make a quick comment saying stats here. These are all the information that you see in here. I'm just gonna copy one that has the text content. This one right here doesn't really matter. Now what I'm gonna do here is change. I'm gonna cache the ID saying repos. Right, I'm gonna change everything here saying user.public repos to local string. Okay, now what I can do here is paste it a couple different times, just like that. Now I can change that to followers, and change that to following, and change that to just come back here and just say, instead of public repos, I can just do followers, and instead of public repos here, I can just do following and change that to public gist. So that's our DOM manipulation for the stats, right? Now next is for links. So I'm just gonna make a comment for links, just like that. I'm gonna put the same thing here, but what I'm gonna do here is change that to profile link. This will not be text content, instead it will be href, because we're using the link, basically pasting link, and there'll be user dot HTML URL. There you go. Now for the blog link, right? Now a lot of things I know, but like, JavaScript is pretty difficult and it's kind of annoying. So next is document dot get element by ID. But JavaScript is very important to learn in web dev, so I highly recommend you start with JavaScript. And if you want to check that out, we have a JavaScript playlist in our channel. If you want to check that out, you can check it out, and it will be on the playlist section of our channel. So if just check it out if you want to. So here, what I basically did was just select a DOM element and just store it into this variable, and just say if user.blog, if it exists, the blog exists. I'm just going to change store the blog URL here in this variable, saying user.blog.stats with HTTP. So I'm just going to checking that here. If this thing returns true, I'm checking if that returns true. If it does, I'm just saying that do this. And what I'm going to do here is do https / and just put the URL. If the URL exists, put the URL and just send it, boys. Just to user.blog, boom, right? And also what I'm going to do here is bloglink.href. I'm going to set the blog URL, right? Just like that, and bloglink.style.display. I'm just going to put it to inline flex, just like that. Else, if it doesn't exist, I'm just gonna set the bloglink style to display none. There you go. You don't need semicolons in JavaScript, but it kind of looks cool just seeing semicolons because we are developers, right? So this is the try container. So we're still not done with the start container, by the way, guys. Now next is the loading, right? I'm just gonna do loading.style.display. I'm gonna set that to none now. If it's already loaded, then putting that does not make sense. I'm gonna do a set timeout, and that will run this function saying profile card dot class list. The profile card class list will add the show, so it will basically show our profile card, right? And here I'm just gonna delay that by 100 milliseconds because it should be relatively quick, Now that is for our try block. Now we just have to catch a few errors and we're good. Now the first error is the thing, right? What I'm gonna do here, first let me, oh, oops, no, it's not the thing. There we go. I almost messed up. And first I'm just gonna error the normal errors. I'm just gonna do console.error. If there's a search error, just do the search error. Just like that, log that, and also do loading dot style dot display. I'm gonna set that to none. Just like that. Now next is the updating the thing. We also have to add our event listeners. We'll do that in a bit at the last. Now next is for handling error element. Now I have to use the inner HTML to one by one map our things. What I'm going to do is make a variable called inner element, right? And this will basically have the DOM element of the error container or the error message. So inside this, what I'm going to do is do if error dot message dot includes. So basically check if that has that. I'm just going to do rate limit. If that error message has that, then error element dot inner HTML, use a backtext just like that, and use an h3 saying rate limit exceeded like that, and close the h3 tag. Now next is the paragraph tag. What I'm going to do is GitHub API read limit reached. Please try again in a few minutes. There we go. And close the paragraph tag. And that's our first error message. I'm just going to copy that because I have to actually write that a couple different times. Now for the else if error dot message dot includes failed to fetch. Now if that actually has the failed to fetch thing, what I'm going to do is paste this and just say like how did Copilot come in? What? Connection error. And also log that to unable to connect to GitHub. Please check your internet connection. There you go. That will log that. Now for the else of all of that, I'm just gonna, okay, I just messed up the spelling there, I just realized. Now if it includes anything else, that just means user not found. So I'm just gonna simply say that. Now here what I'm gonna do is say GitHub user was not found. Please check the username again and try again. There we go. There we go. With that said, I'm just gonna say error dot class list dot add, and just gonna add the show. With that, the error class list will just be shown because since it's hidden right now, right? So that's it. Now the things that I need to do more is the last thing I need to do is just add search event listeners. Next, the first event listeners is the search button saying add event listener, like to click, that will call a immediately invoked function. So here, just do search user and get the username input dot value. It'll basically call the username here. I think I didn't put any parameters. So this username will be passed. This username will be passed through here, and it will basically call that, right? The next thing is I need to put, I'm just going to copy that because I'm too lazy to write things. I'm going to do username input. Instead of click, it will be a key press, right? And that will have the key as the parameter, obviously. And inside this, I'm just gonna wrap this inside a if statement. If key e.key is equal to enter. So if user just presses enter on the input field, it will just basically call this function. And with that said, our thing almost is done. Saying username.input, I'm gonna call it focus, saying focus to load, just like that. Making this input field the more focus to load. And with that said, our thing should be done. Why is there what? Okay, I don't know why that was there, but I think with that said, we should be done. Open that. What happens if when you load, because of this, it will just automatically focus that. Now, with that said, I think we should be done, and we should start we can finally use our GitHub profile viewer. I'm just gonna search my GitHub. Because I found that's weird. Is API not getting called or something? Fail to fail, resources, text content. Okay, so there's some error going on. So let me try to fix it really quick. Let's see. So here it says that 37, 48, 37. So this right here is getting null. Okay, that's weird. Well, let's check. So I'm just gonna search my GitHub. It says type error, cannot set the properties to text content. Next text content. So what is the problem? Text at 48, not 48, 37. So if we go there, it says that is returning null. So if I go here and go to, oh, okay, so I forgot to make a div for the bio. That makes sense. I think I thought I did, but apparently I didn't. Okay, so that makes sense. I'm gonna do profile bio and give a username bio. So I think I should fix that. Now let's try to call. Okay, there we go. Boom. So there's all of my information there. I don't think I should be showing that, but it should be fine. Now this is our own. You can also view. You can also go to our GitHub, and this is my official GitHub page on here, right? Now this is the project that we made. So with that said, I think I'll end the stream. We made our GitHub profile viewer, right? If you enjoyed the stream and just watching me code, just giving me a headache, and just the code giving me a headache, then just like the video. No, I was gonna say video. Please like the stream and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. With that said, I'll see you guys in another stream or another video. Bye bye.